Hi guys, hopefully you are doing well. Welcome to my Game Week 5 preview for the FPL season. Welcome back to the channel. Make sure you do like, comment and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. Here is a quick recap of where we were at coming into the international break with a small green arrow and 77 points. And these were the key takeaways that we had going into our early preview last week. So I want to jump straight into where we're at this week. So you can see there's a couple changes on the screen. So Vardiol comes off of the bench and into the starting 11 once again, and hopefully he doesn't get benched against West Ham in a good fixture this week. So we're going to bench Estupinan against Manchester United, and we're going to try and go after Vardiol's clean sheet potential over the attacking returns potentially of Estupinan. But the other change you might notice on your screen is up front, and that we are going with Odsonne Edouard. So we've already made one move. The reason I made that move was early in the international break, João Pedro looked like he was going to go down in price, which was a bit concerning. Even though I've got 2.5 million in the bank, I just really wanted to make sure that I had that 5.5 striker slot locked into someone who is a solid option for us moving forward. I spoke about it last night on the podcast. If you haven't seen it, there will be a link to the podcast in the description of this video, but it's also at the FPL Show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and it's also over on FPL DOPADA, DOPADA, here on YouTube if you want to watch the stream there as well. But the reason I've gone with Odsonne Edouard is we're going to go into some of his underlying data in a minute, but he's just locked into play. He gets 90 minutes most games as well, where I was sick of that headache with João Pedro. So as you can see, just above me here, we've got Odsonne Edouard in. The big question is double Liverpool. We're in a good position where we already own Mo Salah, so I'm not needing to go and get a Luis Diaz or a Darwin Núñez because I can cover the Liverpool attack through Salah. Big question is Bruno versus Maddison, and if we're going to talk about that, who comes out of our midfield? The other midfielder is Elliot Anderson from Newcastle. So he's at 4.4 million. So with 2.5 in the bank, that only gets us up to 6.9. So we really miss out on the upper echelon there of midfielders. So I just want to do a bit of a dive with Odsonne Edouard. He scored 3 goals this season so far, 1 in game week 1, 2 in game week 4. Expected goals are 2.6. The main thing for me is he's had 19 shots through 4 games and only 8 of those have been on target. He has missed a couple sitters from near the 6-yard box, but for 5.5 million and with Aston Villa away who have leaked goals, with Fulham at home who have leaked goals, with Man United away who have leaked goals, and with Forest at Selhurst who have also leaked goals, there's opportunities here for Odsonne Edouard to get some big returns. When it comes to, I think, XG or XGI, I can't remember off the top of my head, he ranks third. Shots, he's definitely third amongst all forwards, and XGI is quite high amongst the strikers as well. So he is really heavily involved. He's only 2% owned at this stage as well. So I'm very, very interested to see what we can get out of Odsonne Edouard. I am planning a Game Week 9 wildcard as well at this stage. So Odsonne Edouard for me is probably the budget option of the strikers. He's playable across all 4 of those games. And if he can get 2 to 3 returns in the next 4 weeks, then that is a potential big rank booster for me as well. So very, very happy about owning Odsonne Edouard because he did go under the radar. The next main player that I'm looking at, I do have one free transfer left to go, and Bruno Fernandes is someone I'm targeting big time. He leads all midfielders XGI at the moment with an XGI of 4. And what has come about of it is one huge haul there in game week 3, I believe it was, against Nottingham Forest. When he got the penalty, didn't get the assist, he got a penalty and I think a 3 bonus. But he's got the potential to go absolutely nuts on this run. So they get Brighton at home, who again, Brighton's defence haven't been fantastic. He gets Burnley away, Crystal Palace at home, and then Brentford at home to go into the wild card. And then his fixtures coming into that wild card are still very, very solid, although he plays Manchester City in game week 10. Bruno is someone for me that has absolutely passed the eye test. He has missed a couple big chances there. He's got an XG of 1.8. I know he missed a header against Spurs from about the 6-yard box, and he's missed another one, I think it was against Wolves, where he missed another, big chance from inside the 18-yard box. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Amrabat coming in. Does that allow Bruno to be freed up to be played as a 10, with Casemiro and Amrabat going in to play as 2 number 6s, which is going to be interesting. And then you get Rashford now back out to the left wing. So I think those Manchester United assets are going to start looking a lot better. And it definitely worries me not owning him. I've been very lucky that he's only had one big haul so far this season. So I'm in a position now where if I want to get Bruno Fernandes, the only way I can do it this week is if a Matoma or an Mbeumo move out. But the assist potential with Bruno is fantastic. The goal threat is actually there. He is taking some shots. He's created 4 big chances. He's in and around. He's having enough opportunities to be, an option there at 8.4 million. I think it's time to buy Bruno Fernandes. Heung-min Son is someone who, if I played the price game, I could have got Matoma straight up to him and left myself with nothing in the bank. The thing I've got with Son at the moment is I'd like a little bit more data around what's going to happen with him long term. We obviously know that if he's going to play in the number 9 position, that he could be a huge threat. He could be a big goal threat moving forward, but I just want to be able to see a little bit more data from Son in that position before we go into that, because that will also have an impact on James Maddison, who we'll talk about as well. If you're needing a Son, if you've got a Sterling that you're not happy with and you want to take a risk on Son, I'd be doing it this week because he gets that Sheffield United fixture at home. I expect Spurs to dominate, and I expect Maddison and Son to be involved in that game. 3 goals. He's obviously got them all against Burnley. 20 of his 28 points have come from one game as well. So just be mindful if you're buying Son this week. Arsenal, Liverpool could be some very difficult fixtures where he still could return. We've seen that Arsenal at Emirates really struggle defensively, and Liverpool, have kept one clean sheet this year. Then you get Luton, and then potentially wildcarding in game week 9. So Heung-min Son, I do think it's a great signing if you could make the funds happen. I can't get there, so for me, it's not an option, but for you guys, definitely be considering Heung-min Son. If you need the other option, it's James Maddison, 7.8. Again, I think most people will be contemplating Maddison versus Bruno, particularly this week. I'm leaning Bruno because of the long-term fixtures over the 4 weeks. I think Bruno will outscore Maddison over 4 weeks, but Maddison has been absolutely fantastic. I'm also trying not to buy previous points. So you can see Maddison there has overachieved on his expected points by almost 5 points. 2 goals, 2 assists, scored an absolute beauty against Burnley as well. I expect him to get a big return this week against Sheffield United. I think he's going to dictate play very, very well. But I'll be watching Maddison play with an eager eye because I want to know how deep he will play to create space for Heung-min Son potentially, or Solomon, whoever's going to be on the left. And I just want to see what Spurs look like moving into game week 5 and then coming through game week 6 and 7. But Maddison definitely a wild card target for me coming into game week 9. The big thing here is the chances created is 10 for James Maddison, which is well above anyone that we've seen on this list as well. Absolutely fantastic. If you started with him like Damo did, then you're absolutely laughing to take away those 29 points. But I just think my transfer plan for this week will be Bruno coming in for Matoma. Again, Matoma's fixtures aren't the worst. He has Man United this week, then he goes Bournemouth, and then he gets a couple hard fixtures, and then he gets a really good run going out of the wild card. So it wouldn't surprise me if we end up on Kaoru Matoma going into the wild card. That is where I'm sitting going into game week 5. I think I'm going to use that second transfer because as we looked on the podcast yesterday, the team going into game week 6, 7, and 8 is looking in a good position. The only player I'd really like to get into this team would be James Maddison, and the only player that I could really make that happen with is moving down Bukayo Saka because their fixture run does turn. But we'll talk about that next week. I'm very, very comfortable with that team. Just for your reference, on the bench, we've got Estupinan, Bayer, and Anderson. So we've only really got one option on the bench as it stands. So next week, we've got a bit of a dilemma. Do we go and strengthen our bench a little bit? And then we've got to start talking about game week 7, double game week with Luton, potentially trying to get an asset from there if it works to fit our structure. But that's where we're at for game week 5. If you've liked the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you're doing with your team, and I'll see you guys at the start of next week for our review of game week 5.